August 20th, 2012. I'm going to put the link to this article below in the Show More section. We know that the Russian troops have been in joint military training operations with the United States. Just recently, again, a Russian submarine is detected a little too late. It had already left off the Gulf of Mexico. Now, this article headline: we appear to be under Russian military invasion, crossing Canadian border with heavy artillery and armor. And I'm going to play a portion of this audio for you. Russian troops have been seen crossing from the Canadian border into Minnesota. Are they here as a kind of like a Red Dawn scenario, or are they here to assist in gun confiscation of the American citizens? Let's take a listen. Leave me comments. Again, this is for your own discernment. I just want to present this information to you so you are knowledgeable and are prepared in case this is a factual event taking place. I'll play just a portion, but you will have the entire link in the Show More section.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Thursday, the 16th day of August, year of our Lord 2012. Well, things are happening so fast, and there's a lot of important things we need to cover. I'm just going to mention that I suggest you go to standeo.com and read the Earth Change headlines for yourself. They continue to be a long list and a very serious list. We do have patiently waiting in the green room my friend Tim Spencer. Tim is a rancher, a father, grandfather, veteran of the United States Navy Submarine Corps, and proprietor of the excellent website ruralsurvival.info. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, John. How are things up in your neck of the woods today?
It's 69 degrees. Sun's about to come over the ridge here. I'm down in the valley, and it's looking at maybe a little bit of rain later in the day. At least they're guessing it could happen. So
I hope so. I hope so. We need it desperately.
Well, at this point, we're just trying to replenish the ground while the hay crop's finished for the year.
Oh, yeah, that's done dead and over.
Tim, I got a call from one of our listeners a couple of days ago. He's employed at a commercial airport in Minnesota. He told me that at night, every night for more than a week, two Boeing passenger liners have been landing under cover of darkness, going to an obscure part of the airport where there's no lights, behind a berm, as he described it, and offloading 150 passengers who get into three 50-seat buses. Their baggage is all duffel bags. All duffel bags. Now, that's what I know for sure. What I'm speculating is that these are probably all men and probably all military personnel, which is based on my knowledge and experience. Do you have any comment on that?
You said Michigan? Is that what you said, John?
Minnesota. We got a break. Tim, hold on.
Okay,
Stay tuned.
yeah.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. This is J.R. Moore. It is Thursday, the 16th of August. Tim, before the break, I was mentioning these 300 people per day landing at this commercial airport in Minnesota under cover of darkness. They have one of these ramps that goes up to the Boeing to offload with no lights, which, of course, for normal commercial transport is a big, big no-no because of liability, if nothing else. And they offload onto three 50-passenger buses with all their baggage in duffel bags. And my speculation is that these are military personnel, most likely all men, most likely from a foreign country, because why would Americans want to conceal their identity? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I do. I don't specifically know about, troops or personnel coming into Minnesota. Minnesota, you said. What I do know is that in the past 48 hours, for the major drills, which you've been hearing about going on up there where, on various news sources been talking about the large convoys going into that area and everything.
Right.
I do know that their training scenarios have been switched in the past 48 hours from dealing with training for things like Afghanistan and Iraq, small to medium insurgencies, to a return to Cold War tactics, which has got the junior officers caught completely off guard, and to quote, has the senior officers running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
Right. Now, I know that we've talked, and this is from a trusted, private, confidential source, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is.
Now, when you say Cold War tactics, I assume we're talking large movements of tanks and artillery, paratroopers, basically what Patton did running across Europe.
Right. Well, you remember the planning we did, like for the Volga Gap and stuff like that?
Right, right.
That's the kind of training that they are coming on a dime and starting to do. Instead of dealing with insurgencies, now we're going back to the Army versus Army stuff. And
right.
Like I said, it's happened in the past 48 hours.
Of course, in the meantime, they basically picked apart our Army to even be capable of doing such a thing, downgrading and disassembling large armor units and artillery units, haven't they?
Yes, they have. They have completely gutted. Well, you know what we were capable of, say, in the mid-'80s.
Right.
From what I'm told, we're not capable of doing even 1/20th of that kind of stuff like we used to be able to do.
I've discussed this at length with Command Sergeant Major Page, and the goal was to eliminate all heavy armor, all heavy artillery, and combat engineers, which without those three things, basically you have left as a police force.
That's correct. But apparently somebody in the military is, and this is the part that gets me, it tells me that there's contrasting or differing views on how to do things in the military itself.
Right.
Because all of a sudden this turnaround has happened, and we are apparently cobbling together what we can to become a viable force against a major incursion.
Well, my understanding is that beginning today, Russian forces will be crossing the American border with Canada with heavy artillery and armor. I believe that there is collusion at the top, inside the head of the top leadership of the Department of Homeland Security and in the Oval Office at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where we have a communist in collusion and fully knowledgeable of these matters. That's my belief, Tim. That's my belief.
Well, that lines up almost identically with mine. My thinking is that some of the colonels and maybe brigadiers have decided that they don't necessarily want that to happen.
Well, I hope
so. I'm just putting two and two together.
Well, I'm doing the same thing, and I've had little rumors here and there about brigadier generals at the state National Guard level who are aware of these matters and are doing everything they can to provide a strong and viable defense for our country.
Well, I would say you're probably right. And like I said, I have no proof of this. All I'm doing is taking what I'm hearing from point A, putting it together with what I'm hearing from point B.
Well, I do have proof. I'm going to, this coming week, we're going to have some people calling in about their first-hand observations of Russians who can segue between speaking Russian to speaking English with the neutral Nebraskan accent, which...
We're talking Spetsnaz then.
And we're talking Spetsnaz. Spetsnaz, Spetsnaz. That's an acronym with a whole bunch of syllables minus not having enough vowels, but that's... yeah, Spetsnaz is Russian Special Forces, and they do, in fact, speak English with a neutral Nebraskan accent. Some of them probably have Texas drawl, some probably have a Bronx accent, because they do have that capability. Regardless, I believe there is, quite frankly, it's an invasion underway. That's my opinion, based on the information I'm getting from private, trusted sources I've worked with for years, that the Russians are here, and they're coming in large numbers, beginning today.
Well, we know that they have the advanced people here. We know that for a fact.
Right.
That's right. Something we know.
Now, let's go back to what you typed out, the prologue for the television miniseries America with a K.
Yes, yes.
And that answered for me, after all these years, more than 25 years since that miniseries, which was, for you young people out there, this miniseries in the late 1980s was hugely popular and extremely controversial. And it was depicting, it was of course a drama, depicting the United States. The miniseries began 12 years after the United States was taken over by Russia. And they never say in that miniseries how and why that happened. They simply don't. But the prologue you typed out and is on my website, thelibertyman.com, it explains how that happened. And how did it happen, Tim?
By an EMP.
Electromagnetic pulse attack.
Yeah.
And that's...
much more damage than...
If you want to attack a monster, it's a good idea to blind them first, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And an EMP attack would blind the monster being the United States. It would blind us and make us almost unable to respond in a full and effective manner, especially dealing with all the civilian chaos that would be caused by such a thing.
Right. And today it would be much worse than it would when that book was written.
Well, yes.
Maybe not bad on the military, but much worse on the civilian infrastructure.
Well, actually, all U.S. military bases away from the oceans right now are getting natural gas-powered turbine electric generators. The completion date 1 November.
Right, I've been reading about that.
Oh, except for command and control stations and things like that on these bases, most of these military bases are dependent on the civilian power grid, just like the rest of us. So making them independent would be a really, really good thing.
Yeah, it would be. I'm glad they're doing it.
I am glad also.
I think they're about 25 years too late, but...
well, but if they get it done in time, that's the main thing.
Right.
Tim, I know you and I talked privately about this. I'm scrambling, and I know you're scrambling to fill in some blank spaces in our preparedness with extra food. I dropped off 50 pounds of iodized salt at your home the other day, and
I appreciate it, by the way.
Well, I know, and you're certainly welcome. But I want to encourage everybody listening to Tim Spencer and John Moore this morning to start looking at the blank spaces in your preparedness and what you might be procrastinating on, and get up and get motivated. Don't you think so, Tim?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, my whole day today is dedicated to that purpose. I'm going to a store at Lake of the Ozarks where I can get some stuff fairly cheap. I forgot the name of it. It begins with an M, but myself and 2 other families are driving up there in my truck to save gas and all in the trailer, and we're making quite a supply run today.
Outstanding. Well, I'm looking at, and I always recall what my sergeant, and God bless him, told me in basic training. He said, "More, pay attention to detail." So I'm looking at details like batteries. Make sure I got a good stock of batteries. And I just found out that these CR123, as Charlie Romeo 123 lithium batteries, that there's a rechargeable version of those and chargers that you can acquire.
Yes, and you can even get solar chargers for them, John.
And solar chargers too. But these lithium batteries can sit unused for 10 years and not lose their effectiveness. The plain old lithium batteries and the rechargeable one.
All right, everyone. The link to this article and the complete audio will be below in the Show More section. Are Russian military troops crossing the Canadian border with heavy artillery and armor? And are you prepared? Are you stocking up on food and water and lithium batteries? And are we looking at a real-life Red Dawn? Now, I want to make mention the movie, the remake Red Dawn was put on hold for a while. No one seemed to know what was going on. Do your research. Do your research. And that's what I'm doing. I'm bringing you information so you are prepared in case this is a true scenario of Russian military crossing the Canadian border into Minnesota. Leave me comments, everyone.